As the Central Bank of Trinidad and Tobago celebrates its 60th anniversary, it's also marking a new era of sustainability and environmental responsibility. At this year's milestone event, the 34th Eric Williams Memorial Lecture, one urgent issue took center stage: climate change. Acknowledging that addressing climate change will cost a whole lot of money, they asked the question, who pays?
Rediscover Flow at discoverflow.co. Flow, inspired by you.
Trinidad and Tobago, our islands, are a treasure of natural beauty, from our vibrant coral reefs to our rich rainforests. But as climate change reshapes the world, we find ourselves at the front line of its impact.
You know, from afar, and I don't know whether it's different here in Trinidad, but from afar, Trinidad politics always seems quite ripe. But despite that, or maybe because of that, the economy has been surprisingly strong and stable over the decades. And a part of that we must owe to the stability of the Central Bank of Trinidad and Tobago.
But beneath that stability, our environment is changing. Professor Prasad reminds us that climate change isn't a future problem. It's here, now, and it's affecting us all. Developing nations now produce 63% of today's global emissions. But as the professor explains, it's the emissions from wealthier nations over the past 2 centuries that have put us in this dangerous position.
What matters is the stock of greenhouse gas emissions, the history of greenhouse gas emissions for the past 200 years, and their developed countries, America foremost, also the former Soviet Union, Britain, Germany, Japan, account for 70% of the stock of greenhouse gas emissions.
This imbalance is felt most acutely in regions like the Caribbean, where we face some of the harshest effects of climate change. From more powerful hurricanes to rising sea levels, he notes the cost of global warming is 5 times higher for countries closest to the equator.
An example is that Germany, a couple of years ago, had the worst flooding in living memory. It cost them around 0.2% of GDP. A couple of years before then, Dominica was hit by Hurricane Maria, and they lost 226% of their GDP in 4 hours.
Despite these challenges, there is hope. Local efforts are making a difference, from mangrove restoration to solar energy projects. And whether it's small actions like reducing plastic waste or larger projects like transitioning to renewable energy, we can all play a part in keeping Trinidad and Tobago green and resilient. Professor Prasad emphasizes wealthier nations must do their part by reducing emissions and supporting global climate finance.
They've contributed $100 billion a year to climate finance in developing countries. It is, unfortunately, inadequate to the scale of what's needed. I'm a member of a high-level panel which estimated that developing countries need $2.4 trillion of investment. $2.4 trillion of investment every year in climate mitigation, adaptation, and loss and damage. 2.4 trillion. We can save our planet by making saving the planet not a burden on development, but a source of development, of cheap and low-cost financing and investment, and the building of resilience, and the international funding of loss and damage.
The moral case for this is clear. Climate change is a challenge we face together. By working with global partners and taking action locally, we can ensure that Trinidad and Tobago remains a beacon of natural beauty for generations to come. I am Stacey Ann Providence, keeping it green for TDT News.
Flow, we're inspired by all the things that go on in your home. Like the efforts you make to keep your connections healthy. Ooh, I love this part. And by your need for a release of endorphins that keeps you young and energetic. And by the couch potato in your home, who hates to move more than an inch. So we gave you a remote that you can speak to.
House of the Dragon.
We were even inspired by this.
Mom, the Wi-Fi's down! Never mind!
We're also inspired by the young, enthusiastic athlete who understands how technology can improve their game. So, when you sign up at Flow to our fiber-powered network that now comes with gig speeds, you sign up for a network that's inspired by you. No wonder it fits your home so well.